Hello, everybody. Welcome in and happy Thanksgiving. I am back with my weekly prediction segment for the 2024 through 25 NFL season. I will predict the final scores for each game in week 13. But of course, before I do that, I need to recap my picks from the previous week, that week being week 12. I'll just recap my picks from a week ago. 8 and 5, so a good week. Not a great one, and some pretty big misses here. Pittsburgh over Cleveland, they lose outright. Texans annihilate the Titans. Texans lose outright. I thought the Commanders would annihilate the Cowboys. They lose outright. And I thought the Rams had a chance to upset the Eagles. Not even close. My upset of the week, even though that game got to overtime, the Bears were very lucky to get that game to overtime. So some pretty bad misses there. Outside of that, nothing too major to comment on. Obviously, I gave the 49ers too much credit. I thought they could keep it close against Green Bay. They could not. I correctly called the Seahawks upsetting the Cardinals who were on a 4-game win streak, and I thought that the Ravens would beat the Chargers, and they did. So, good week 12, not a great one, and I will be better this week. Now, before we begin, as always, make sure to leave a like if you enjoy the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you'd like to be notified when future content drops, you can click on the bell icon, choose personalized or all notifications, whatever floats your boat. Let's begin. We begin week 13 with the John Madden Thanksgiving celebration on Thursday, the 3-game slate beginning at 1:30 p.m. Chicago and Detroit. The Detroit Lions come into this game 10-1 atop the NFC. Take the Chiefs out of the conversation because they're clearly the best. The Detroit Lions are clearly the second best team in the NFL. You look at this team, you really can't find a weakness. I suppose it would be their pass defense, but their defensive front is super strong, so that rarely gets exposed. The Chicago Bears, on the other hand, since they lost to Washington on the Hail Mary, have not been right. Lost another really close game last week against the Vikings in overtime. The Bears are underdogs by 10.5 points in this game, and while I definitely do not think they're going to win this game, by the way, the Lions have not won on Thanksgiving in 8 years, and I think they're going to snap that streak. Although I do not think the Bears are going to win this game, I do think they might keep it a little bit close. Caleb Williams has played really well the last couple of weeks. Jared Goff, in his career, has had his struggles against the Bears. He really struggled in 2 games against the Bears defense last year, and I think that he could have some interceptions here. So give me the Lions to win this one, 27-23, where the Bears cover the 10-point spread. At 4:30, 2 bottom feeders from the NFC East, the Giants and the Cowboys. This game's probably going to be Cooper Rush against Tommy DeVito. I know the Cowboys pulled out a win against the Commanders last week. They're still not a good team. I think they're a dead team walking pretty much, especially at home. And the Giants are the Giants. They went to Tommy DeVito last week, thought maybe that could give them a spark against Tampa. Nope, they lose 30-7. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this one. This game's probably going to be absolutely terrible. I wouldn't be surprised if it has more defensive touchdowns than offensive touchdowns. So, I don't know. I'll take the Cowboys to win their first home game of the year, 23-20. And in the evening, the Miami Dolphins, the kind of hot Miami Dolphins, winning 3 straight at 5-6, visiting the Green Bay Packers at 8-3. I know the Dolphins currently have won 3 straight. People are saying, look out, they could make the playoffs. This is the exact type of game they lose and look awful. The weather's going to be like 28 degrees. Tua, I'm pretty sure, is winless in games where the kickoff temperature is lower than 40 degrees. And also, they're playing a very good team in the Packers. We know the Dolphins can't beat good teams. And I know, we're talking about the Dolphins winning 3 in a row. Those 3 games have been against the LA Rams, who I have no reason to believe they're good, and home games against the Raiders and the Patriots. So even though they've won 3 in a row after a 2-6 start, I think at best they're the same team they were last year or the year before that. A team that's going to beat up on the dregs of the NFL. And when they face a real opponent, especially away from Hard Rock Stadium, they're going to get run over. I like the Packers comfortably over the Dolphins, 33-20. That isn't as close as the score would indicate. Moving on Black Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Amazon Prime Video, two AFC West teams, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, some might be expecting me to say, the Raiders are going to keep this close. This is going to be a tie game in the third quarter, maybe even the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs might win on a walk-off field goal or something, or a late touchdown. Well, if that's the case, that'd be pretty embarrassing. And I know people are going to cite the fact that the Chiefs escaped Carolina with a win last week. To Bryce Young's credit, he had played really well in the last two games. He played really well against the Chiefs, but I don't think that was a fluke. I think he might be starting to turn it around. On the other side, the Raiders, they're 2-9. They haven't shown any signs of life since, I think their last win was week 4. I think they just lost Gardner Minshew for the year, and they're going to be starting Desmond Ridder. Like I said, Bryce Young's been playing well. Desmond Ridder is not going to be able to do anything against the Chiefs' defense. He's probably not going to be able to do even as much as Aiden O'Connell did against them last year on Christmas Day. Ironically, the Raiders won that game because they had 2 defensive touchdowns. That is not going to happen again. Lock of the week, Chiefs finally get that 20-plus point win we have been clamoring for them to get, 28-7 over the Raiders. We finally get to the Sunday 1 o'clock p.m. slate, and it begins with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh coming in at 8-3, off a mini bye and a loss to Cleveland, weirdly. And Cincinnati coming in at 4-7, off an actual bye week. Prior to that, they had lost 2 straight road games against the Baltimore Ravens and the LA Chargers. Now, I know the Bengals are 4-7, but if they can find a way to win this game somehow, and I'll get to that in just a few seconds, after this game, they would have the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Browns. So if they can somehow win this game, they could easily be 8-7. Now, with that said, do I think they're going to win this game? No, I don't. So somehow the Bengals are favored by 2.5 points in this game. Basically, what that means is that the two teams, the Steelers and the Bengals, are completely even, in spite of the fact that one team has 4 more wins than the other. I know the Bengals have a really good offense. I'm not going to deny that. And Joe Burrow has played really well this year. But they also have the worst defense in the NFL, and their coaching staff has been really bad situationally this year. And at some point, you are what your record says you are and who you've beaten. In the case of the Bengals, they're 4-7, and their 4 wins have come against the Panthers, the Raiders, the Browns, and the Giants. Those are 4 of the worst teams in the NFL. And when they've played 6 teams over 500 this year, and although most of them, except for the Eagles game, have been close, losses are still losses. They're 0-6 against teams over 500 this year. Mike Tomlin, as a slight road underdog in an AFC North game, that is a great spot for the Steelers. I like the Steelers to upset the Bengals. We'll call it 27-24, even though the Steelers' offense isn't that great. Every competent team except the Chiefs apparently put up a lot of points on the Bengals. I think the Steelers will do the same. Following that, interconference matchup, 2 teams currently in the playoff hunt. The Atlanta Falcons at 6-5 on a 2-game skid coming off a bye week, hosting the LA Chargers at 7-4, coming off on a short week, coming off a loss at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Despite the fact that they lost to the Ravens, I still think the Chargers are really good. They're very stout defensively, very disciplined defensively. although their offense isn't very talented, at least at the skill positions, their offensive line is excellent. Their run game is excellent. Justin Herbert's playing really well. I think that the Chargers are better than the Falcons. Speaking of the Falcons, last 2 weeks they've just been looked terrible. Well, actually, not last 2 weeks. Their last two games, they've looked absolutely terrible. Their most recent loss was 38-6 against Bo Nix and the Broncos. Just got absolutely embarrassed. And before that, they lost to the Saints, who had just fired Dennis Allen. So Atlanta is definitely not trending in the right direction, and they have another tough game at home this week. The Chargers are a better coach team than the Falcons. They're a more consistent team than the Falcons. I think they're more trustworthy than the Falcons. And I expect the Chargers to get back on track and win this game. So I like the Chargers road favorites to cover the spread, win by a touchdown, 28-21. Following that is a game between the 5-7 Colts and the 3-9 Patriots. The Patriots, of course, well out of the AFC playoff picture. The Colts, on the other hand, are in the playoff hunt. Obviously, they need a lot of things to go right for them to sneak in. But, they're not that far out at 5-7. As far as the Patriots go, once again, and I've said this multiple times, they have a really promising young quarterback, an exciting young quarterback. That's all they have, okay? The Colts, I don't think the Colts are great. I don't think Anthony Richardson's great. But they do have a really solid running game, and they do have a really solid defense. So because of that, I like the Colts to take care of business against the Patriots. Cover, I think they're favored by 2.5 in this game. Cover the spread, 24-17. This next one looks like a real shitter. The Tennessee Titans and the Washington Commanders. Now, why do I say that? Obviously, the Titans are terrible despite pulling out a win against the Texans last week. I think that says way more about the Texans than it does about the Titans. Will Levis's judgment is still bottom of the barrel. Their offense as a whole isn't very good. I don't think they're well coached. On the other side, I want to talk about Washington a bit. That's a horrific loss. Losing to that Cowboys team at home off 2 straight losses is completely inexcusable. I think it's very obvious that the Commanders have hit the Cliff Kingsbury wall that we've seen several times in years past. And I think they're going to be a dead team walk. Okay, I don't want to say that. It's on the board. They're a dead team walking the rest of the way. And I think it's very much on the board. I know a couple weeks ago we had them pretty much locked into an NFC playoff spot. I think that their playoff hopes are in real jeopardy, especially considering the fact that I think they've hit the Cliff Kingsbury wall. If you remember 3 years ago when Cliff Kingsbury was in Arizona, remember they started 10-2, and then for the last 5 weeks of the regular season, they were a dead team walking. They could not win. I don't know if that's going to happen with this Commanders team, but they are not playing well at all right now. I do expect them to pull out an ugly win against a terrible Titans team. I'll say it's like 17-10. But will my faith be restored in the Commanders if they win this game? Obviously not. This next game looks like a really good one. 2 of the bigger surprises in the NFL this season, the Cardinals and the Vikings. The Cardinals at 6-5 were leading the NFC West just a week ago, but I think they fell to second place due to tiebreaker with the Seahawks with their loss last week. The Vikings, on the other hand, after they lost to the Rams, I thought that this could be 2016 all over again. But since that 2-game losing streak, they've won 4 straight, 3 of those on the road. They're back at home this week. The Cardinals, I think they have a legitimate offense with an identity. And do I think that they're going to be the team to win what is a pretty weak NFC West this season? I think so. And if the Vikings end up I think the Vikings are going to end up as the 5 or the 6 seed, the Cardinals the 4 or the 3 seed, we could see these two teams meet again in round 1 of the playoffs in about a month and a half, actually. So as far as this game, I think that the Vikings are a better team than the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals, although defensively they're super well schemed, they lack talent. I think the Vikings will be able to exploit that with mismatches. I do think that this game will be close and will come down to the wire. I like the Vikings to beat the Cardinals and get to 10-2, and maybe the most under the radar 10-2 team in the history of the NFL, 29-26. Up next is a game between the Seattle Seahawks at 6-5 visiting the New York Jets at 3-8. The Jets circus has been so fun for me to spectate this year as someone who despises Rodgers. It's not so fun to spectate, if you were a big buyer on the Jets before the year, or if you're a Jets fan. In that case, I feel really bad for you. There have been, I think there have been some recent rumors that Aaron Rodgers could be benched for Tyrod Taylor or released potentially. Regardless of what happens, if either of those things happen, that'd be pretty embarrassing for Rodgers. But I digress. The game. So Seattle's weird. Week to week, I don't know what team I'm going to get. Like, 1 week, they're going to Atlanta and blowing out the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons are very good, as I said earlier. But they're a decent team. And another week, the New York Giants are coming to Lumen Field and beating them. They're getting blown out by San Francisco, blown out by Buffalo. A couple of weeks ago, they went to San Francisco and upset the 49ers, who I don't think are that good, but, they're better than the Giants, who they lost to at home. I'm pretty sure the Seahawks are undefeated at MetLife Stadium. That's where they won Super Bowl 48. I expect them to remain undefeated at MetLife. They need to win this game to stay on pace for the NFC West. I think it'll be a great race between them and the Cardinals, and potentially the Rams and maybe the 49ers. I'll get to the 49ers later. For the NFC West title, I like the Seahawks to beat the Jets by 9 points, 2 scores. I'll say 26-17. And to close out the 1 o'clock window, the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't want to talk about the Jaguars. They're terrible. I don't know when Doug Peterson's getting fired. Maybe not until the end of the season. I don't want to spend too much time talking about them. I want to talk about the Houston Texans. Now, their flaws, I think, have been pretty apparent all year. Like, there have been multiple games, and I've said this before, there have been multiple games this year where the opposing quarterback completed 30% of his passes, and I'm not just talking about the Josh Allen game. I'm talking about the Anthony Richardson Week 8 game between the Colts and the Texans. I think Anthony Richardson went 10 for 32. And the Texans won both of those games by 3 points. And, I just think that's odd because you should probably blow the other team out when the other quarterback completes 30% of his passes if you're aspiring to be a Super Bowl contender. So the Texans don't really know how to put away teams except the Cowboys and the Patriots. And I think most teams, the Patriots with Jacoby Brissett, most teams would blow them out. And the Cowboys with how bad they've been at home lately. I think the New Orleans Saints went into Dallas and blew them out. So, that win to me means nothing. The Texans' interior offensive line is awful. Their offensive coordinator, I think Texans fans have had real frustrations with Bobby Slowick this year. I thought he did a great job last year with the development of C.J. Stroud, but I don't think Texans fans are as happy with him now as they were last year. And they're super undisciplined. But despite all of these issues, you should still win your home game against the Tennessee Titans, especially when you get a huge kick return early in the game. You should not be losing your home game against the Tennessee. Oh, and Will Levis had a pick six too. You should not be losing your home game against the Tennessee Titans when all of those things are happening. So I think at this point you can cross out the Houston Texans as anything more than I think a round 1 playoff exit. If you think about it, they're gonna be the 4 seed. They're gonna play the Chargers or the Ravens in round 1. LL. So as far as this game, they're undefeated in Jacksonville. I think the last time they lost in Jacksonville, 2017. I do expect them to get back on track, but they lost. You never know. They lost to the Titans at home last week. I'll take the Texans to beat the Jaguars. I'll say by double digits, 23-13. At 4:05 Eastern Time, in the Fox regional window, the LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints. The LA Rams are coming to this one 5-6 off a blowout loss at home against a clearly superior team in the Philadelphia Eagles. On the other side of the coin, the New Orleans Saints, Sneakily 2-0 since firing Dennis Allen. Um, do I think their winning streak's gonna get to 3? No, I don't. I don't think they're a good enough team to win 3 straight. I think the Rams need this game, especially with a home game against Buffalo next week. I don't think they can go into that game 5-7 and have any chance at making the postseason. Even though I'm not convinced the Rams are good right now, I do think they're a better team than the Saints, and they need the game. They should win the game. I like the Rams in this one, 24-21 over the Saints. This next game is one that I think could sneakily be a good one. Tampa Bay and Carolina. I know you're thinking, Aiden, you're crazy. Why would this be a good game? Carolina's 3-8. Well, Bryce Young has played well the last 3 weeks. He played really well in a home loss to the Chiefs last week. I think that he's trending in the right direction. On the other side, Tampa Bay. They got Mike Evans back last week against the Giants, and boy, did it make a difference because they went into MetLife, and I know the Giants are really bad, but they were up 30-0 in the second half. And with how Atlanta's looked the last couple of weeks, and given the fact that I think they're going to lose to the Chargers this week, I think that Tampa Bay could potentially swipe this division back from Atlanta, but I don't think that this is a game that Tampa Bay is just going to roll over the Panthers. As I said, Bryce Young has played well the last couple of weeks, and Tampa Bay's secondary is still vulnerable. Obviously, the Giants are not going to exploit that. I do think Tampa's better than Carolina. Tampa should be able to easily move the ball on the Panthers' defense, but I do think Bryce Young might keep the Panthers in this game. I do like Tampa Bay, but I like them in a close one, 28-23 over the Panthers. Then a nationally televised game on CBS at 4:25 p.m. What a ticket this is. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens, two bird teams. Is this a possible Super Bowl matchup coming up? Maybe. We shall see. The Eagles, honestly, Saquon Barkley might be the MVP of the NFL this year. I mean, I don't think a running back's won the award since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006, but honestly, Saquon has been that good. He has transformed this offense. The Eagles' offensive line is excellent. They still have an excellent array of offensive skill position talent at the receiver positions. I don't think Jalen Hurts is elite, but he's definitely good, and he can run the offense effectively. Kellen Moore, although I had skepticism about him, I think that he has done a good job this year. And on the other side, the Eagles' defense, the worst defense in the NFL a year ago, has been so much better under Vic Fangio and with some of their rookies in Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. Other side, the Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry, another big name free agent running back from this past offseason, has also been incredible. Not quite as good as Barkley, but has really improved that Ravens offense. And of course, Lamar Jackson, if his team wasn't a wild card team right now, he would be the MVP of the NFL. He is playing phenomenal. So who do I think wins this game? As a general rule, I never pick against Lamar Jackson when he faces NFC teams, and I feel like I'm going to look really stupid for this one. I'm going to break that rule. I think that the Eagles are a better team than the Ravens. Why do I think that? Even though the last couple of weeks it's looked good, I still do not trust the Ravens' pass defense at all. I think they're still prone to giving up big plays. I don't think the Steelers really have the personnel to take advantage of that, and neither do the Chargers. The Bengals, however, do, and they've torched the Ravens' defense this year. I think the Eagles have the personnel to do that as well, and I think that they will. The Ravens are probably going to try to take Saquon away, and I think the Eagles are going to be able to get a lot of big-time production from their passing offense in this game. So I definitely think this is a game of the week. This is going to be an excellent game. And yeah, maybe Lamar makes me look really stupid for picking against him when he's facing an NFC team. But I think that this Eagles team is only the second NFC team ever to defeat Lamar Jackson. I like the Eagles 34-31 over the Ravens. Then on Sunday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers, a disappointing 5-6, visit the Buffalo Bills. A somewhat surprising given all of the, it seems like they took a big step back this offseason. The Buffalo Bills coming in at 9-2. Now, this is an absolute gotta-have-it game for the 49ers if they want any chance of making the postseason. Because if they lose this game, they play the Rams, who already beat them, the Cardinals, who already beat them. I don't think anyone thinks they can beat the Lions. So they absolutely have to win this game to stay alive. And I personally, I just don't think they're going to. No. I don't know who's playing. I don't know if Brock Purdy, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, any of those guys are going to come back this week. I think if they have to roll with Brandon Allen again, they're absolutely cooked. Or if they have to roll without Trent Williams again, they're also completely cooked. I don't know about Nick Bosa, but if he doesn't go, then the Niners' defensive front looks very vulnerable. The Bills are coming off a bye. They are 7-0 off a bye under Sean McDermott, although it seems like sometimes they don't play the cleanest off of a bye. They never lose, and I don't think they're going to lose this game. I think that Kyle Shanahan, this is going to be a kitchen sink game for Kyle Shanahan, meaning he's going to throw the kitchen sink, unleash his entire playbook, because, as I said, the 49ers absolutely need to have this game. But I think the Bills are just better than them. I do think this will be close, but the Bills pull it out 28-23, and they put the Niners to bed. And then lastly, on Monday Night Football, Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, a surprising 7-5, host the Cleveland Browns at 3-8. The Browns have been weird this year because two of their wins, obviously the record's terrible, but two of their wins have come against the Ravens and the Steelers. So they've been the spoiler a couple times this year. Imagine if they play spoiler against the Chiefs in a couple weeks. Will that happen? I don't know. Maybe I'll predict it. We'll see. But I don't think they can win this game on the road. I think that the Broncos are playing really well right now. I don't think that Jameis is going to be able to move the ball against this Broncos defense. Bo Nix, honestly, he might be the offensive rookie of the year with how Jaden Daniels has played the last couple weeks. And I think Caleb Williams and the Bears are going to be firmly out of the playoffs. I think that the Broncos are going to get to double-digit wins. I think they're well coached by Sean Payton, and if they do that, I think Bo Nix is the offensive rookie of the year. Back to this game, the Broncos are a much better team than the Browns. They should win easily. I got the Broncos by 2 touchdowns, 28-14 over the Browns. And that will be all for today. Once again, I remind you to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want to be notified of when future content is uploaded, you can click on the bell icon, choose personalized notifications or all notifications, whatever floats your boat. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all again real soon. Happy Thanksgiving.